They laughed at Elias at his father's funeral, called him poor, called him worthless. His wife's family treated him like garbage while his father lay in the ground. But inside that old man's house was a secret worth billions. And hidden in a locked box were 127 recordings that would destroy them all. What Elias discovered that night didn't just end his marriage. It exposed crimes, shattered reputations, and revealed a fortune so massive, the people who mocked him would never recover. This is Elmerem Stories, where African folktales meet real-life lessons that will change how you see the world. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Like and drop your comments in the comment section. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's begin. The red earth of Enugu was still damp from the morning rain when they lowered Chief Samuel Chukwuma into the ground. Elias stood at the edge of the grave, his face calm but his heart breaking. He had lost the only parent who truly understood him. His mother had died when he was 12. Now his father was gone too. Behind him, he could hear them whispering. "Look at him," someone said, standing there like he's important. Elias didn't turn around. He knew the voice. It belonged to Auntie Ngozi, his wife Liana's mother, a woman who wore gold like armor and spoke with the sharpness of broken glass. His father was just a quiet man, another voice added. No business, no connections, just a simple civil servant who retired to nothing. Elias closed his eyes. He wanted to scream. He wanted to defend his father's name. But he stayed silent. That was what his father had taught him. Dignity in silence. Strength in humility. Liana stood beside him, but she wasn't really there. Her body was present, but her spirit had left their marriage long ago. She wore a black lace dress that cost more than Elias earned in 3 months as a secondary school teacher. Her phone buzzed constantly in her purse. She didn't even pretend to care. "Are we done yet?" she whispered to him. "Uncle Obinna wants to leave early. He has a meeting in Lagos." Elias looked at her, really looked at her. The woman he had loved for 6 years. The woman he had married believing she would stand with him through anything. Now she couldn't even stand through his father's burial without complaining. "It's my father's funeral, Liana," he said quietly. She rolled her eyes. "I know, but we've been here for hours. And honestly, Elias, your family didn't even prepare proper food for the guests. My family is embarrassed." Embarrassed. That word followed Elias everywhere in the Okri family. He was an embarrassment because he was a teacher. An embarrassment because he drove a 12-year-old Toyota. An embarrassment because he didn't own land or run a business or travel to Dubai twice a year like Liana's cousins. The funeral gathering moved to his father's small compound in Independence layout. The house was modest. 3 bedrooms. A sitting room with old furniture. A kitchen that smelled like palm oil and memories. Elias had grown up here. His father had raised him here. Alone. With love. With discipline. With wisdom. But to the Okri family, the house was proof of failure. "This is where you grew up," Liana's cousin, Chitara, said too loudly. She wore sunglasses indoors and carried a designer bag that could feed a family for 6 months. "No wonder you're so humble." Humble. Another word they used as an insult. Uncle Obinna sat in the corner, his belly pressing against his agbada, his phone glued to his ear. He was the head of the Okri family, a man who owned an import business and drove 3 SUVs. He had never liked Elias. Not from the beginning. Liana married down. He had said at their wedding reception. Loud enough for Elias to hear. "But maybe he'll learn something from us." Elias had learned something. He had learned that wealth without character was just noise. That pride without substance was just emptiness. That family who loved conditionally didn't really love at all. The guests began to leave as the sun set. One by one, they offered their shallow condolences and disappeared into their expensive cars. Liana left with her mother. She didn't ask if Elias needed anything. She didn't stay to help him clean up. She just left. Elias sat alone in his father's sitting room. The silence was heavy. He looked around at the walls. The photos. The certificates. His father's retirement plaque from the Federal Ministry of Works. A simple life. An honest life. But something felt wrong. Elias walked into his father's bedroom. The bed was still made. The wardrobe was closed. Everything looked normal. But Elias knew his father. Chief Samuel was a man of order. A man of systems. A man who prepared for everything. He opened the wardrobe. Clothes. Shoes. Nothing unusual. Then he noticed a small wooden box on the top shelf. He pulled it down. It was locked. Elias searched for the key. He found it taped under the bedside table. His father's handwriting was on a note attached to it. For Elias. When I am gone. His hands shook as he unlocked the box. Inside, there was a flash drive, a sealed envelope, and a small notebook filled with dates and names. Elias plugged the flash drive into his laptop. What he found changed everything. 127 audio recordings. Each one labeled with a date. Each one a conversation. And every single one of them was about him. He clicked the first file. It was from 3 years ago. Liana's voice filled the room. I don't know why I married him, Mama. He's so boring. He has no ambition. My friends are married to men who travel, who own things. And I'm stuck with a teacher. Elias felt his chest tighten. He clicked another file. Uncle Obina's voice. Elias is a waste. If Liana had listened to me, she would have married Emeka. That boy has connections. But no, she chose love. And look where it got her. Stuck with a nobody. File after file. Year after year. Insults. Mockery. Plans to control him. Conversations about how to make him feel small. How to break his confidence. How to make him believe he wasn't enough. And Liana was in almost every recording. Elias sat frozen. His father had been recording them. Quietly. Carefully. Protecting him in the only way he could. The envelope contained a letter. My son, if you are reading this, I am no longer with you. I have watched you suffer in silence for years. I recorded these conversations not to destroy your marriage, but to give you proof. Proof that you are not the problem. Proof that their cruelty is not your fault. You deserve better, Elias. You always have. Do with this what your heart tells you. But never let anyone make you feel less than the man I raised you to be. I love you. Always. Papa. Elias didn't cry. He didn't shout. He just sat there, staring at the screen, listening to years of betrayal play out in front of him. The next morning, he went to Liana's family house in GRA. She was having breakfast with her mother. Laughing. Carefree. We need to talk, Elias said. Liana looked annoyed. About what? Can't this wait? Elias placed the flash drive on the table. What's this? Auntie Ngozi asked. The truth, Elias said. 127 recordings of every cruel thing you've said about me. Every insult. Every mockery. Every lie. My father recorded everything. Liana's face went pale. I'm filing for divorce, Elias said calmly. Not because I hate you, but because I finally respect myself enough to walk away. The Okari family didn't believe him at first. Auntie Ngozi laughed. A sharp, bitter sound that filled the breakfast room. Recordings? Your father was recording us. That's ridiculous, Elias. You're just angry because we never accepted you. Play one, Liana said quietly. Her voice was shaking. Play one of the recordings. Elias opened his laptop. He clicked a file from 2 years ago. Christmas Day. The Okari family gathering. Liana's voice came through the speakers, clear and unmistakable. I'm tired of pretending, Mama. Elias is holding me back. Every time my friends ask what my husband does, I have to say teacher, like it's something to be proud of. I want out. But if I divorce him now, people will say I'm heartless. So I'll wait. I'll wait until he embarrasses himself enough that everyone will understand why I left. The room went silent. Auntie Ngozi's smile disappeared. Liana stared at the laptop like it was a snake about to strike. That's out of context, Liana whispered. Out of context, Elias said. His voice was still calm, but something had shifted inside him. I have 126 more. Should I play another? He didn't wait for an answer. He clicked another file. This one was Uncle Obina talking to his wife. Elias is weak. That's why I don't respect him. A real man would have left that teaching job and come work for me. But no, he has principles. Principles don't pay bills. Principles don't build empires. I'm just waiting for Liana to wise up and leave him. Then maybe she can marry someone worthy of this family. Uncle Obina wasn't at breakfast that morning. But Auntie Ngozi's face told Elias everything he needed to know. They had all said these things. They had all agreed. For years. I want a divorce, Liana, Elias repeated. I've already spoken to a lawyer. The papers will be ready next week. Liana finally looked at him. Really looked at him. Elias, please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll change. I promise. You had 6 years to change, Elias said. 6 years to defend me. 6 years to stand with me. You chose them every single time. He closed the laptop and walked out. The divorce process was quick. Liana didn't fight it. She couldn't. The recordings were proof of emotional abuse, manipulation, and cruelty. Her lawyer advised her to sign quietly and move on. But something else was happening. Something Elias didn't know about yet. Chief Samuel Chukwuma's will was being prepared for reading. The lawyer handling the estate was Barrister Okonkwo, a man who had worked with Elias's father for over 30 years. He called Elias 3 weeks after the funeral. "Elias, we need to meet. Your father's will is ready. And there are several parties who need to be present." "Parties?" Elias asked. "It's just me. I'm his only child." "I know," Barrister Okonkwo said carefully. "But your father requested that certain people be present at the reading, including your wife and her family." Elias didn't understand. Why would his father want the Okri family at his will reading? They had never respected Chief Samuel. They had mocked him just like they mocked Elias. But he agreed. The will reading was scheduled for a Saturday morning at Barrister Okonkwo's office in Independence Layout. Elias arrived early. He wore a simple shirt and trousers, the same clothes he wore to teach every day. Liana arrived with her mother, Uncle Obinna, and 2 of her cousins. They looked confused, annoyed, like they had been dragged somewhere they didn't want to be. "Why are we here?" Uncle Obinna asked loudly. "This is a waste of time. The man is dead. Let him rest." Barrister Okonkwo ignored him. He waited until everyone was seated. Then he opened a thick brown folder. "We are here for the reading of the last will and testament of Chief Samuel Namdi Chukwuma," he began. Chief Chukwuma was very specific about who should be present today, and he was very specific about what should be revealed. He looked at Elias. "Your father was a private man, but he was not a poor man." Elias frowned. "What do you mean?" Barrister Okonkwo pulled out a document. Chief Samuel Chukwuma retired from the Federal Ministry of Works in 1998. But before he retired, he began investing. Quietly, strategically. Over the course of 43 years, your father built a portfolio that most Nigerians would never believe. He read from the document. Chief Chukwuma owned 17 rental properties across Abuja and Enugu. These properties generate approximately 12 million naira per month in rental income. He also invested in Nigerian stocks, federal bonds, and treasury bills. His stock portfolio alone is valued at over 400 million naira. The room was silent. Liana's mouth fell open. Uncle Obinna leaned forward in his chair. Barrister Okonkwo continued. In addition, Chief Chukwuma was an early investor in cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum. He began purchasing Bitcoin in 2013 when it was still cheap. Today, his cryptocurrency holdings are valued at approximately 8 billion naira. Ani Ngozi gasped. 8 billion, she whispered. Yes, Barrister Okonkwo said. Chief Chukwuma also maintains several high-yield savings accounts and treasury bill investments with First Bank and Zenith Bank. Combined, these accounts hold another 250 million naira. Elias couldn't breathe. His father, his quiet, humble father, the man who wore the same 3 shirts for years, the man who cooked his own meals and fixed his own roof. That man was a billionaire. Why didn't he tell me? Elias whispered. Barrister Okonkwo smiled sadly. Because he wanted to teach you something, Elias. He wanted you to learn humility. To learn that wealth means nothing if you don't have character. He watched you endure mockery, insults, and rejection. And you never changed. You stayed kind. You stayed humble. You stayed true to yourself. That's why he left everything to you. He handed Elias a document. You are the sole heir to your father's estate. Everything. The properties. The stocks. The cryptocurrency. The savings. All of it. Liana stood up. Wait. What about me? I'm his wife. I'm entitled to. You're not his wife anymore. Barrister Okonkwo interrupted. The divorce was finalized 2 days ago. And even if you were still married, Chief Chukwuma established a prenuptial trust before Elias's wedding. A trust that specifically states that no member of the Okri family, including Liana, can ever access or claim any portion of this inheritance. Uncle Obinna's face turned red. That's illegal. You can't do that. It's completely legal, Barrister Okonkwo said calmly. Chief Chukwuma was a brilliant man. He planned everything. Then Barrister Okonkwo pulled out another folder. There's one more thing. He looked directly at Uncle Obinna. Chief Chukwuma also compiled evidence of financial crimes committed by certain individuals. Tax evasion, fraud, illegal importation schemes. He submitted this evidence to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission 3 months before he passed away. Uncle Obinna went pale. At that exact moment, the office door opened. Two men in dark suits walked in. They carried badges. "FCC. Chief Obinna Okari," one of them said. "You're under arrest for tax evasion, customs fraud, and money laundering. You have the right to remain silent." The room exploded. Auntie Ngozi screamed. Liana started crying. The cousins ran for the door. But Elias just sat there, staring at his father's will, finally understanding everything. His father hadn't just protected him. He had planned justice. Uncle Obinna was taken away in handcuffs. His protests echoed through the hallway of Barrister Okonkwo's office, but no one listened. The EFCC agents were calm, professional, and thorough. They had been investigating him for months. Chief Samuel's evidence had simply given them everything they needed to make the arrest. Auntie Ngozi collapsed into a chair, her gold jewelry suddenly looking heavy and worthless. Liana stood frozen by the window, tears streaming down her face. Her cousins had already fled, afraid they might be implicated too. "How did he know?" Liana whispered. "How did your father know about Uncle Obinna's business?" Elias looked at her. For the first time in years, he didn't feel anger. He felt pity. "My father was a civil servant for 35 years. He worked in the Ministry of Works. He reviewed contracts. He saw corruption every day. He knew how to recognize it. And apparently, he knew how to document it." Barrister Okonkwo nodded. Chief Chukwuma was a man of justice. He couldn't stand watching criminals prosper while good people suffered. So he collected evidence. Quietly, patiently. For years. Liana turned to Elias. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice was broken. "I'm so sorry, Elias. I didn't know. I didn't know about any of this. About the recordings. About how cruel I was. About your father's wealth. About Uncle Obinna's crimes. I just follow my family. I thought they knew what was best." "That's the problem, Liana," Elias said softly. "You never thought for yourself. You let them define me. You let them define us. And now look what's happened." Auntie Ngozi finally spoke. Her voice was small, defeated. "We were wrong. We were so wrong about you. About your father. We thought wealth was loud. We thought success had to be shown off. We didn't know. You didn't know that true wealth is silent," Elias finished. "My father taught me that. He lived it every day. He didn't need to prove anything to anyone. He just lived with dignity, invested wisely, and built something real. Something that would last." Barrister Okonkwo stood. "Elias, your father left you instructions. He knew this day would come. He knew the Okari family would eventually see the truth. And he wanted you to make a choice." He handed Elias another envelope. This one was sealed with red wax. Elias's name was written across it in his father's handwriting. Elias opened it carefully. Inside was a single letter. "My son, if you are reading this, then the truth has finally been revealed. You now have wealth beyond what most people will ever see. But I did not give you this wealth to make you proud. I gave it to you because I trust you. I trust that you will not become like the people who hurt you. I trust that you will use this wealth to heal, to build, to uplift others. Do not seek revenge. Revenge is poison. Instead, seek purpose. Use what I have given you to create something beautiful, to help the children who have nothing, to support the families who are struggling, to prove that wealth is not about power, it is about responsibility. I love you, Elias, and I am proud of the man you have become. Do not let this money change you. Let it magnify the goodness that is already inside you. Papa." Elias folded the letter slowly. He looked at Liana, at Auntie Ngozi, at the empty chair where Uncle Obinna had been sitting. "I'm not going to fight you," he said quietly. "I'm not going to embarrass you further. Uncle Obinna will face justice. That's enough. The rest of you can go home. Live your lives. Learn from this. But don't ever contact me again." Liana stepped forward. "Elias, please. Can we?" "No," he said firmly. "We're done, Liana. Not because I hate you, but because I finally understand what my father was trying to teach me. Some people will only respect you when they see your worth and money. But those people will never truly love you. And I deserve to be loved. Not for what I have, but for who I am." He walked out of the office. For the first time in 6 years, Elias felt free. The months that followed were transformative. Elias didn't quit teaching. He stayed at community secondary school in Enugu, arriving every morning at 7:30, teaching English and literature to students who came from homes just like his. He didn't tell anyone about his inheritance. He didn't change his clothes. He didn't buy a new car. But quietly, he began to build something. He registered the Samuel Chukwuma Foundation with the Corporate Affairs Commission. The foundation's mission was simple: to provide free tutoring, WAC, and JAM exam mentorship, and full scholarships to underprivileged children across Nigeria. Elias rented a building in Independence Layout, not far from his father's old house. He hired 5 teachers. He bought textbooks, computers, and desks. He created a program where students could come after school for extra lessons, completely free of charge. Within 3 months, 200 students had enrolled. Within 6 months, 400. The foundation became a lifeline for families who couldn't afford private lessons or expensive exam prep centers. Elias used his father's rental income to fund the foundation. He reinvested the profits from the properties. He didn't touch the cryptocurrency. That, he decided, would remain untouched, a generational wealth reserve for the future. One evening, as Elias was locking up the foundation's office, a young woman approached him. She was in her mid-20s, dressed simply, carrying a folder. "Mr. Chukwuma," she said, "my name is Mira Okafor. I've been following your work. I'm a social worker. I run a foster care program in Enugu for vulnerable teenagers. I wanted to talk to you about a partnership." Elias invited her inside. They talked for 2 hours. Myra's program supported teenagers who had aged out of orphanages or who had been abandoned by their families. Many of them struggled in school because they had no support, no resources, no hope. "What if we combined our efforts?" Mira suggested. "Your foundation provides the education. My program provides the mentorship and emotional support. Together, we could change lives." Elias smiled. It was the first time he had smiled, really smiled, since his father's funeral. "Let's do it." The partnership launched 2 months later. The Samuel Chukwuma Foundation expanded to include counseling services, career guidance, and life skills training. Students who came from broken homes found a second family in the foundation. They found teachers who cared, mentors who believed in them, a community that wouldn't give up on them. One afternoon, 6 months after the will reading, Liana appeared at the foundation. Elias was teaching a class when the receptionist told him someone was waiting for him. He found Liana sitting in the reception area, looking smaller than he remembered. She had lost weight. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple dress. Her eyes were red. "Elias," she said quietly, "I'm not here to ask for anything. I came to apologize. Properly this time." Elias didn't say anything. He just listened. "I've been going to therapy," Liana continued. "After everything that happened, Uncle Obina's arrest, the divorce, losing you, I realized I didn't know who I was. I had built my entire life around my family's expectations. I never stopped to think about what I wanted, who I wanted to be, and I hurt you because of it." She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "This is a donation. It's not much, but I've been working, actually working, for the first time in my life. I got a job at a marketing firm, and I wanted to give something back. To your foundation. To the children you're helping. It's the least I can do." Elias took the envelope. Inside was a check for 500,000 naira. "Thank you," he said simply. Liana stood to leave, then hesitated. "You were always enough, Elias. I just couldn't see it. I hope one day you can forgive me." "I already have," Elias said. "Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger would make me just like your family. And I refuse to become that." Liana nodded, tears in her eyes, and walked out. Elias never saw her again. 2 years after his father's death, the Samuel Chukwuma Foundation had helped over 1,500 students. 63 of them had gained admission into universities. 12 had received full scholarships to study abroad. And countless others had found hope in a place that once felt hopeless. Mira became Elias's closest partner. Together, they built something neither of them could have built alone. She taught him about resilience. He taught her about patience. And slowly, carefully, a friendship grew into something more. They didn't rush. They didn't make grand declarations. They just worked side by side, day after day, building a legacy that honored Chief Samuel's memory. One evening, as they sat in the foundation's library reviewing scholarship applications, Mira looked at Elias and said, "Your father would be proud of you. You know that, right?" Elias smiled. "I hope so. I think about him every day. I think about everything he taught me. And I realize now that the greatest gift he gave me wasn't the money. It was the example. He showed me that wealth means nothing if you don't use it for good. That character is more valuable than gold. That silence can be more powerful than shouting. And that legacy," Mira added, is not what you leave behind when you die. It's what you build while you're alive. Elias nodded. The Okari family had used their wealth to dominate, to control, to elevate themselves above others. The Chukwuma family, Elias and his father, had used their wealth to empower, to heal, to lift others up. And in the end, that was the difference. Not money, not status, but purpose. As Elias locked the foundation's doors that night and walked home through the quiet streets of Enugu, he finally understood what his father had been preparing him for all along. Not to be rich, but to be whole. Not to be powerful, but to be purposeful. Not to be feared, but to be remembered. For the right reasons. True wealth is not found in what you own, but in what you give. Elias's father understood this deeply. He could have lived in luxury, but he chose simplicity. He could have boasted about his success, but he chose silence. He left his son not just money, but a blueprint for living with dignity, purpose, and love. The Okari family learned too late that pride built on mockery crumbles quickly. But Elias learned that humility, even in suffering, builds a foundation that cannot be shaken. When we use our blessings, whether large or small, to uplift others, we create a legacy that outlives us. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply becoming the best version of yourself. Like, subscribe, share, and comment the lesson you learned.